What happens when someone spends decades burying their deepest emotions, convinced that vulnerability equals weakness? The answer is more terrifying than most people realize. The silent accumulation of emotional pressure. Avoidantly attached individuals operate like pressure cookers without release valves. They systematically suppress their emotional needs, convincing themselves that independence equals strength. Each unprocessed feeling, each unspoken hurt, each moment of vulnerability they've pushed down adds another layer to an ever-growing emotional dam. Their nervous system remains perpetually activated, yet they've learned to interpret this chronic stress as normal. The body keeps score of every dismissed emotion, every connection they've sabotaged out of fear, every moment they chose isolation over intimacy. The fortress that becomes a prison. Their psychological defenses, once adaptive mechanisms for survival, transform into impenetrable barriers that trap them within their own minds. They build elaborate mental structures to justify their emotional unavailability, creating sophisticated narratives about why closeness is dangerous and why others always disappoint. These cognitive fortifications become so automatic that they operate below conscious awareness, sabotaging potential connections before they can fully form. The very walls that once protected them now prevent any genuine emotional nourishment from entering their inner world. The physiological cost of emotional suppression. Beneath their composed exterior, their bodies wage a constant war against natural human emotions. Stress hormones flood their system regularly as they fight against their innate need for connection and vulnerability. Their immune system weakens under the chronic strain of emotional suppression, while their nervous system oscillates between hypervigilance and numbing shutdown. Sleep patterns become disrupted as their mind works overtime to maintain emotional barriers, and physical symptoms manifest as their body rebels against the unnatural suppression of fundamental human needs. The inevitable breakdown point. Every avoidant individual has a breaking point where their carefully constructed emotional dam can no longer hold back the accumulated pressure. This collapse rarely appears gradual or predictable to outside observers, manifesting instead as sudden emotional explosions, complete relationship withdrawals, or profound depression episodes. Their nervous system, exhausted from years of suppression, simply cannot maintain the facade any longer. The very emotions they've spent years avoiding crash over them with devastating intensity, often accompanied by overwhelming shame about their perceived weakness. The path forward requires conscious dismantling. Recovery demands the deliberate deconstruction of their protective mechanisms, a process that initially feels like psychological suicide. They must learn to tolerate the anxiety that accompanies emotional openness, gradually expanding their window of tolerance for intimacy and vulnerability. This transformation requires rewiring deeply embedded neural pathways, while simultaneously grieving the connections they've lost to their avoidant patterns. The journey towards secure attachment becomes an act of profound courage, requiring them to embrace the very experiences they've spent a lifetime